It's great to have Ian Castleberry joining us for our NFL Gold Nuggets feature. Of course, it's presented by David Creasman, the fabulous staff at DC Creasman Jewelers. Ian, how are you, lad?
I'm doing great, Pat. How are you?
Hey, we're fabulous, and we're stoked to have you because this is one of our favorite segments to play with. And let's start first, guys. Big breaking news just a few days ago. Raiders D lineman Carl Nassib becoming the first active NFL player to announce he is gay. And Ian, the NFL and its players really reaching out to Nassib's courageous video and announcement, and they are providing a lot of support, as is the league at the moment.
Yeah, I have different feelings about this in a way because, I mean, it wasn't, in some ways it didn't seem like as big a deal or announcement as it might have been a few years ago, which to me seems like a little sign of progress, right? Like, okay, a guy came out as gay and that's happening. But yes, as you mentioned, the NFL did come out and support Carl Nassib, and some players have also, but I'm actually a little bit disappointed that more of the top stars, and I'm not going to name names because that's not fair. You know, everybody has players that they know that they associate with the NFL that they look at as superstars and franchise players and whatnot. And I'm not seeing many of those guys express support, whether on social media, you know, Instagram or Twitter. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't do so privately, and maybe they did. Maybe that's something they prefer to keep private. But J.J. Watt, Saquon Barkley, Derek Carr, Carl Nassib's Raiders teammate. There have been some veterans like Bo Jackson and Warren Moon and Julian Edelman, Sean Merriman have come out in support. And that's great. James Franklin, Carl Nassib's coach at Penn State. But to me, I'm a little bit disappointed that more of the big stars of the NFL have not expressed support for Carl Nassib.
And Demp, you wonder maybe that's because the NFL is still the real man's league.
You know, I just go back to his comment that, and part of what Ian said is he couldn't wait till the day this was not news. So, you know, hopefully, maybe that's what some of these other guys are thinking. Hey, this is not a really big deal, you know, and you know, maybe Tom Brady's not going to say anything now, but wait till he hits him, you know, comes off the corner and hits him, you know, so we'll see. You know, there's so much, locker room banty and locker room issues, and I just admire him for having the courage but not wanting a lot of publicity. He just wanted to move on with life.
Yeah, he just made a matter-of-fact announcement, and to be fair too, maybe this was an open secret in the NFL, and we don't know. Like maybe that's one reason why more messages haven't come out. They're like, we already knew that.
That's a really interesting point, Ian. And look, at the end of the day, I'm glad he made that. I mean, I'm hoping this country kind of gets to the point where people can understand those who are different from them. You know, and I mentioned the other day that I grew up. My brother is gay, and he went through hell. Especially in those early years. And I've seen what some of his friends have went through with families that just barred them from ever talking to them again. Just said, we don't want to talk to you ever again. I mean, that was my brother's best friend. He called my mom and dad, because his own family shunned him. A lot of us don't have that situation. We need to be more understanding. If you want to be compassionate, that would be awesome on top of that. But we need to be understanding of what people go through, some of them who are different from us, who are different in their color, in their sexuality, in their religion, in their sexual orientation. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And as soon as our country can get through that and not put up stupid and offending memes on Facebook and use social media, we're going to be a much better country for it. And this is some kind of start. No doubt about that. Carl Nassib. And now he can go on and play football. And that's all he really wants right now. And we don't blame him for that. Ian Castleberry playing with the Wise Guys, of course, presented by David Creasman and DC Creasman Jewelers. All right, guys, and this one time at tight end camp, Tim Tebow was not invited to a tight end camp, so he never made that promise there and made that statement. But George Kittle, Travis Kelce, two of the best tight ends in football, were putting on a tight end camp along with Greg Olsen, former Panthers tight end. Now, what's interesting here is Tebow was not invited for this. And Ian, the snub was really more about numbers than anything else.
Yeah, this seems like sort of a diss at face value, but this event, Tight End University, which is very interesting. George Kittle and Travis Kelce, as you mentioned, Greg Olsen, inviting NFL tight ends, kind of like a summit. They're going to get together and talk about the position and field study, on-field work, receiving, blocking, route running. Very interesting that they're doing this for the position. But no, Tim Tebow, even though he's trying out as a tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was not invited to this event. And part of it is because this drew much more interest than the organizers were anticipating. Like Kittle said, they thought maybe 20, 25 guys would go to this event. It turned out to be 45 or 50 might attend this thing, and they ran out of hotel rooms. And as Kittle explained too, Tebow's not officially a tight end in the NFL. He's not officially on an NFL roster. We'll see what happens with training camp and so forth. Now, you would think Tim Tebow would benefit perhaps more than some of these other players at an event like this, a real learning opportunity. But as Kittle said, it didn't quite seem fair to invite somebody who just started playing tight end and might not be on an NFL roster over somebody who's an 8 to 10 year veteran and would have something more to offer, something to learn at an event like this.
So is that a snub, Ian, at the end of the day?
I guess so, but I mean, to me, that's a valid explanation.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow, you're not a tight end yet.
Yeah, it's Dem, go ahead there, buddy.
Well, no, I mean, you're exactly right. They have their own club, just like quarterbacks have their own club, and he's not known for being a tight end. So we'll just see. He's got to prove himself to get in the club.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of
every
like
club's got to have the membership.
I mean, remember as kids, either you were the one being shut out or you were doing the shutting out. You're like, sorry, we can't fit anyone else into the treehouse. You go away crying. Oh boy, I didn't mean to bring up my childhood memories or anything
Were
like
you
that.
kicked out or were you in the treehouse?
I've been on both sides as a kid. And I like the other side where you're telling them they can't come in a lot better. Ian Castleberry on the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines NFL Gold Nuggets feature, moving right along. All right, Eli Manning. Eli's coming. All right, so Eli's moving into his next career with the Giants. They're booting him upstairs, Ian. So what are the G-Men's plans for him?
Yeah, Eli Manning returning to the Giants, but not in a football role. He's not going to be like assistant to the general manager or anything like that, personnel role. He's going to take a business operations and fan engagement role with the team, which sounds like something Eli Manning actually prefers, to get involved with the team's corporate partners, the league's corporate partners, and community relations. He's also going to be involved in content development. I know he's doing a series for ESPN Plus, Eli's Places, much like his brother Peyton also has a series on ESPN Plus called Peyton's Places. I think Peyton's Places is more college football related. I think Eli's will be more history of the NFL and the quarterback position related.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, this is part of kind of a big rollout for Eli. The Giants, they're going to retire his number 10 jersey during week 3, September 26th. He's going to be inducted into the team's Ring of Honor. And Eli's career kind of petered out there with the Giants, but after 1-2 seasons removed, you appreciate, okay, this guy won 2 Super Bowls. He holds virtually every passing record, most passing yards, most touchdowns, most interceptions, 4 Pro Bowls. It's time for the Giants to honor Eli Manning, and it's interesting that he's taking a role with the team as well.
Yeah, no kidding. You often wonder, I do anyway, what would our perception of Eli be if he didn't win 2 Super Bowls, if he just went to the Super Bowl but didn't win, or if he never attained Super Bowl status? That's kind of interesting for me on that. I mean, the fact that he beat Tom Brady twice is pretty amazing. But in 2 of the greater Super Bowl games you'll find anywhere. But he is where he is now. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's probably
2-time MVP,
an MVP as well.
2-time MVP,
and
4 Pro Bowls.
It has to be heading, I would think, to the Hall of Fame. And the 4 Pro Bowls is a little. I think you need more than that. But the 2 Super Bowls and the Manning name, I think we'll slide Eli into to Canton at some point. Thanks to David Creasman, DC Creasman Jewelers, for bringing us our NFL Gold Nuggets feature today with Ian Castleberry, who, by the way, writes for awfulannouncing.com, also thecomeback.com, like both on Facebook. And it's great to have Ian with us. Now, again, Ian, moving along the NFL Combine. I didn't realize it had been in Indianapolis since 1987. I knew it had been there for a while, but holy cow. So that's what, about 34 years or so. But Ian, that could be changing soon, right?
Yeah, the NFL is opening up the scouting combine to bids from other cities after 2022. I think that the NFL is seeing an opportunity here to create a fan event, move it around the country, reach out to other fan bases and markets, much like they do with the NFL draft now, and even with the Super Bowl to a lesser extent, but to create a fan event, generate interest. Yeah, as you said, the Combine's been Indianapolis since 1987. Move it around. I think this isn't going to happen. I actually think it would be kind of interesting if they moved it to markets that were near college areas, like something, like maybe near Penn State or
near, Sports Radio is Asheville.
Sorry, hit the wrong button.
That's okay. But apparently the Dallas Cowboys have already expressed interest in hosting the Combine. That seems like a really good location. Obviously, a huge interest in college football there. It's kind of centrally located in terms of where it is in the United States. But, it'll be interesting to see in the years to come which markets really try to get the Combine. Maybe some areas that haven't been able to get the draft. I'm thinking of Detroit, for instance. Maybe they can't get the draft, but maybe they could get the scouting combine and host a spotlight event for the NFL.
Wow. I mean, the NFL is kind of big on traditions, and this one's not as big a deal. It's like, who cares where they hold the combine at? But, man, the other tradition, and you sparked my memory, Ian, by mentioning your Detroit Lions hosting Thanksgiving. Man, that has got to end at some point. And refresh me, if they moved off of Detroit, I think last year it was in Detroit, correct? Like, that's the first game of the Thanksgiving Day schedule.
Yeah, it's almost always the first game, the 12:30 game, and then Dallas. And then for teams that wanted a Thanksgiving game but weren't able to host it, now there's a night game as well. So that's rotating. I mean, we could devote a whole segment to this, but I think Detroit's never going to lose the Thanksgiving Day game, and it's because of the Ford Motor Company. Right? I mean, Ford's a huge advertiser. The Lions want the Thanksgiving game. It's tradition. Ford's a major sponsor of the NFL. I mean, I guess you never say never, but you're dealing with kicking off a major corporate sponsor if you really try to move that game away from Detroit for Thanksgiving.
And why can't Ford just say, you know what, we agree. It sucks when the Lions are playing on Thanksgiving Day. Let's do something else. Where is Chevy located? Let's roll there. I mean, it's just...
Well, that would be Detroit. No, that would be Detroit also, right?
Oh, jeez. All right.
I mean, come on.
Ohio? I mean, somewhere?
You could... I mean, you know...
Are they still making Yugos? Where's that? What side is that?
Well,
Can they speak? Can they speak up?
Next thing you know, we're going to have it in Green. We'll have to have it at Clemson because BMW's in Greenville.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, there we go. We'll take that. Ian Castleberry, of course, with the Wise Guys Thursdays, talking NFL Gold Nuggets, and we've had a few to go over today. Presented by DC Creasman Jewelers at 269 Tunnel Road. Your one-stop jewelry shop. So, Ian, if any NFL players want to back out of the season due to COVID concerns, it looks like they're going to be doing that on their own when it comes to their finances.
Yeah, this year, any team or any player, who voluntarily opts out due to COVID concerns will not get a stipend. Last year, those players got $150,000 stipend. This year, if high-risk players choose to opt out and they have to prove that they have to have a contract dating back to last season, maybe been newly diagnosed with a high-risk condition to show that, okay, they think they're at high risk to catch COVID if they play, those players can still qualify for a $350,000 stipend. But I think this comes back, last year, obviously there wasn't a vaccine. We didn't know as much about COVID and safety concerns. This year, with a vaccine and protocols laid out to make it safe for players and coaches and personnel, really just doesn't seem like there's as much reason. I mean, obviously if players want to opt out, they can, but the league's not going to be as welcoming or willing for that decision, especially financially this year.
Yeah, Demp, I think at this point, we're enough through the pandemic where I don't think that's necessary. I applaud the NFL for doing that. Last year with COVID, that was the right thing to do. $150,000 if you wanted to opt out. Gosh, you wouldn't take that.
I don't know if can I opt out now?
No.
No?
No.
Oh,
sorry,
man,
buddy.
come on,
no,
Pat.
No, this is 2021.
150, I mean, that might that pays one bedroom in a house right now in Asheville.
No kidding. Can you imagine? Like, I don't want to play this year. I want to work this year. I mean, if I went to the radio group and said, hey, I don't want to work anymore this in 2020, and they're like, okay, that sounds fair. Here's $150,000. I mean, it's just
Neil just came down the hall.
Yeah, the world of professional sports is just that. It is a whole nother world. Ian, we always appreciate a few minutes of your time, buddy. You know that. Thanks as always for the knowledge, and appreciate you very much, man. Be well, Ian.
Good to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks.
You got it,
See you
buddy.
later, Jim.
That's one of the good ones right there. I'm telling you, that dude is so freaking talented. I mean, Shoop, Stan, I'm like, man, that Ian is like that.
Oh man, he's on top of it. I mean,
as a writer, on top of that, I mean, yeah.